Joining me now to talk about this issue and more is Kentucky Democratic Governor Andy Beshear. Governor, before Trump paused and pushed pause on Canadian tariffs, they were already pulling American liquor from shelves in Canada, including Kentucky bourbon. But the trade ties between Kentucky and our North American neighbors in Canada and Mexico run much deeper. Have you been hearing from business leaders in your state about what these potential tariffs might do?
I have, Reverend. I've been hearing from everything from the biggest businesses in Kentucky that employ thousands of people to the small businesses that see the costs that they're going to incur from this. These tariffs, especially as they relate to the threatened tariffs on Canada, would be devastating for my state. You know, last year we broke our all-time exports record. Our economy is booming, yet Donald Trump, in attempts to get Canada to do certain things, has threatened tariffs that would impact our biggest trading partner. About $9 billion, 22% of Kentucky's exports go to Canada. And just think about a couple of numbers. First is 95. That's the percent of the world's bourbon made in Kentucky, though that's all the bourbon worth drinking. 30, that's the number of points that Donald Trump won by in Kentucky, yet 0 would be the number of Kentucky bourbon bottles on Canadian liquor store shelves. Listen, the president needs to step up and do right by the American people. I believe that he was elected when those last group of movable voters decided he'd be the one that could potentially lower prices and help them pay bills at the end of the month. Yet that's the last thing he's doing, signing EOs on culture war issues and anything but looking at how his actions impact the American people and whether or not they can afford to pay those bills at the end of the month.
Now, what can governors do on tariffs? Have you been in touch with the Trump administration? And if so, what have they been telling you?
What we can do is first speak up. And let me say, in Kentucky, I'm proud of the response from our 2 Republican senators. Both Mitch McConnell and Rand Paul have been really clear that all tariffs do are raise prices on Americans. And let me tell you, if Mitch McConnell and Rand Paul are 2 Republican senators and this Democratic governor all say tariffs are a really bad idea, it's because tariffs are a really bad idea.
Now, let's talk about government funding. The Washington Post reports Elon Musk's unelected Doge team has now swept in 15 federal agencies. The Trump administration has signaled it intends to cut spending, even programs mandated by Congress. Kentucky received about $22 billion in 2024 in federal funds, about 43% of state spending and the 6th largest share of all states. Are you confident your state will get the resources it needs from the White House, from this White House?
Oh, I'm concerned. I'm concerned because in the past 2 weeks, they've turned off Medicaid for a full day. Those are hundreds of thousands of Kentuckians and tens of millions of Americans, including a lot of children that would be harmed. For a while, they paused a large portion of our state highway funds to us and to other states. Those are the quality of our roads and bridges and how safe our people are when they drive on them. If they eliminated the Department of Education and its funding, that's $500 million in meals, in breakfasts, and in lunches for our kids that otherwise might go hungry. So if Elon Musk and Donald Trump do what they're saying they're doing, the result are hungry children. The result are people not getting the health care they need. If they do what they're saying to the CIA and the FBI in terms of gutting them, of getting rid of so many of these people, listen, I had a classmate that I lost in 9/11. The intelligence community is incredibly important in keeping us safe. As Attorney General, I caught more child predators than any previous Attorney General, and we worked with the FBI. If Donald Trump and Elon Musk continue what they're doing, we will be less safe, folks will go hungry, and people will not be able to see or afford that doctor's visit. They need to knock it off and to recognize that they were elected to help the people of the United States of America, not make it tougher at the end of each month.
this week you signed major income tax cut bill into law in your state with bipartisan support, I might add. Not everyone on either side was happy, but lawmakers came together and compromised. Do you think there is a lesson that the president and Congress can take away from your experience in Kentucky as they begin to work on a federal budget bill?
Yes, sir, I do. We are booming in Kentucky. We've broken every economic development record, from private sector investment to new jobs to wages to exports to tourism. And what it means is, while the president doesn't hear the American people, that they need a little extra help to pay the bills, I certainly do. And so with a booming economy, we're able to do this income tax cut and still provide the services that the people of Kentucky need. So now they're going to have a little more money to make sure that they can pay those bills and then hopefully take their family out and to make a great memory. And I think we were able to do it because, at least from my standpoint, I remember that once I take that oath of office, I wasn't elected to be the best Democratic governor I can be. I was elected to be the best governor of the Commonwealth of Kentucky that I can be. So in the federal government, stop looking for enemies. You know, the golden rule says we love our neighbor as ourselves, and the parable of the Good Samaritan says everyone's our neighbor, and that is regardless of their political party. But Reverend, I know I don't need to tell that to you, but maybe we as Americans need to hear it and live it out, not just on Sunday, but throughout the week a little bit more.
Finally, Governor, I wanted to ask you about some comments you made this week on the occasion of Black History Month, calling out President Trump, blaming the tragic midair collision in Washington, D.C. last month on diversity programs. Why do you think those remarks from the president were so harmful?
Well, President Trump's remarks were wrong, and you know, they make large portions of our population feel targeted. I mean, to blame a crash that is so tragic that we should be thinking first about the families, and to immediately not only politicize it, but then when you hear those comments, we all worry that it's something much more than that. And then you got the Department of Defense that is not celebrating Black History Month. Listen, in Kentucky, we came together last week, Democrats, Republicans, independents, all three branches of government, and loudly and proudly celebrated it because Black history is American history. But it hasn't been recognized, it hasn't been written on enough, and that's why, in my mind, we've got to keep doing this. And one of the things I love the most is we did it in our Capitol Rotunda, where a couple years ago we took down the statue of Jefferson Davis. So during this celebration and recognition, there wasn't that divisive symbol sitting in there, just people recognizing the importance of this month, but of creating our more perfect union each and every day.
Interesting. You took down the statue of Jefferson Davis while new Defense Secretary Hegseth says he wants to put the names of Confederates back on some of the Navy ships and other forts under the Department of Defense. But thank you, Governor of Kentucky, Governor Andy Beshear. Thank you for being with us. Coming up,